We've been talking all week, Tom, as you recall, about, questioning ourselves. And today we're going to talk about the discoveries of the week. And I know you had a discovery of the week, or maybe you're having a discovery right now regarding questioning yourself. All that and more coming up on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Sorry, I was distracted by something. I'll tell you later. It's kind of funny.
Yes, and I see you have a neighbor that pulled up next to you.
Exactly the issue. Yep. It's very, very, yeah. But we'll Excellent. Let that go.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Antidote. For those of you on the podcast, Bob is live on location, and so whenever that happens, there are things that sometimes happen. So if we have a conversation and you're not quite sure what we're talking about, there's likely something going on around Bob as we have our discussion. So, again, welcome to today's Antidote. All week long, we've been talking about questioning ourselves. And today we get to talk about what we discovered. And as we go through the conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share about what you discovered around questioning yourself, please feel free to share them, whether you are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
Or LinkedIn Live. Yes, indeed. Because we know that it'll add value to our show, and someone else might be looking for exactly what you have to share, especially when it comes to discoveries of the week. We kind of bring it all together and see what might happen. Yet before we dive into our conversation around that, we always start with our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
So, Tom, you know this, most people don't, but I moved back into a part of Maryland where I lived years ago, where I started my journalism career and where I lived for a number of years. And moving back there, I see some places where I used to be, but for the last couple of days, I've been at this retreat and I've been driving to it. And I drive into a town where I used to be the editor of the newspaper. And I drive by a high school where years ago I taught high school for a year. And it is amazing. Each time I drive by, I haven't had that opportunity much, but each time I drive by, it's like, wow, I learned so much there that I use today in both cases. And when we get to questioning ourselves, it'll come back around to these things as well. So I'll throw that little teaser out there. What about you? You were out on the lacrosse field yesterday, and you're still standing today.
Yeah, still standing. I felt pretty good running up and down the field. You know, there were some things that I questioned myself on the field, some calls, and I felt okay with what I did. And, you know, a couple of things, obviously, that I can learn from it. Most importantly, I felt in shape to run up and down the field. And so I'm celebrating the hard work that I put in at Orange Theory Fitness to help me not feel like I was just completely gassed trying to keep up with Division I athletes. So that's my celebration.
Okay. And just so you know, for anyone new, Tom is not playing lacrosse. He's officiating women's lacrosse.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So can I dig right into it?
Of course.
So as I was talking about those two jobs, today I found myself questioning myself about leaving those jobs. Now, I left one of those jobs in 1994, and I left the other one in 97. And I haven't looked back much. I enjoyed both jobs immensely. I was very successful in my terms, but I found myself questioning the decision to leave them. And I gave myself, like I had said yesterday, I gave myself 5 minutes for each to think through it and just be like, well, if I had stayed, I would have been this. If I had stayed, I would have been that. If I'd done this, I would have been teaching. all those things. But I literally had the stopwatch in my car as I was driving set to 5 minutes. And at 5 minutes, I let go of the first one, and then I started into the second one. And then at the end of 5 minutes, I let go of the second one. And it makes me realize now, when I stopped woulda, coulda, shoulda, I turn more to the great opportunities that it set up, that it created the next steps and the steps after that, and that the skills I developed at both of those jobs and the personal and professional development that I experienced are really part of what I do now every day without even thinking about it. So I went from questioning myself to really almost patting myself on the back for like, wow, that was a really, that was, in one case, it was kind of courageous to leave to go do something completely different. And I hadn't really taken the time to ever say it that way to myself. But today it was like, you know what, that was kind of courageous to take that leap. And it set up this and this and this. So I think questioning ourselves at the end of the week for me is not the worst thing in the world. When the week started, I really was like, boy, the only thing I want from this week is to learn how to never question myself again. I think at the end of the week, I realized that questioning myself means that I care. And it also means that I've grown somewhere along the way because I've taken a new step.
And I think you get a chance to learn from what you've done. Like you got through the pain and the emotion of frustration and anger and all the feelings that you have. And I think what happens is you get all that out, and then you run out of things and you start thinking about all the value that you gained from those opportunities. And when we can get to that point where we think about value gained or knowledge gained, experience had, perspective, a new perspective, we can see the value of them and see how they show up or how they've been valuable in later things. It's funny. I've always been someone who sort of believed things happen for a reason. And it's almost like we have to have all these other experiences so that we can be prepared for what comes next in our lives. And I just think that's a really powerful thing. If you allow yourself to see what you have learned and gained and not just deal with the emotion and frustration of it. Because it probably could have been easy for you to go on and on and on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
And then that would have spun to, well, why did I do that? And you'd have started questioning every decision you ever made.
Yes.
Well, good for you. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How about you? So
that was probably going to be one of mine, was the whole concept of, I think when I started the week, I was thinking about there was no value in either the statements or what I came up with yesterday were the rhetorical questions that we ask that we don't really want an answer to, right? Like, why did I do that? What?
Right.
You want to ask them, and you're asking them really just to beat yourself up, not really to learn and gain, because there's no really helpful answer that comes out of that. And so I think I thought that there was a way that we could just move beyond it, that we could just get to the point where we could get to learning. And I think, yesterday helped me see that there was value in that, setting a specific amount of time and sharing the emotion that you're dealing with, and then figuring out how to move forward. So I think that definitely was a big part of what I discovered, because I think sometimes we can feel like, well, we just brush by it and it's that easy. And I know sometimes we have those conversations on here where I'm sure others listening or watching say, yeah, right. How's that? It's not that easy. One thing to say it, it's another thing to actually do it. And, and I think that
don't give away our secrets, Tom.
Well, I think that it's helpful to not, I think, just blow past the emotional part of it. Because I think, as you said, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, it wouldn't be emotional if it didn't matter to what you were trying to do.
Right.
For those things that we make decisions on that small and really not impactful on a significant part of our life or our day or our work, it's okay. You can move through it. But I think when it matters, there is emotion that's tied to it, and so having the opportunity to feel those emotions adds real value.
And think about the fact that it's 30 years later that I'm dealing with this, almost 25, 30 years later, and I'm processing it now, which means that probably, I hate to say it, but if I had taken the time to go through this back then, and I don't know that I could have, I wonder what I would have discovered from it in that moment that would have fueled even greater opportunities in different directions. Can't know, but I do think the sooner you can access this, the more opportunity you have, because you can leverage the knowledge, experience, and perspective that you've gained more quickly.
Sure. And I think one of the things is that, yeah, I would have, I think it's helpful if we could do that, and wouldn't that be great? And I think that even had you done it then, I still think that anytime that you're brought back to something that you went through that was emotional, it's likely going to rear its head again. And whether it rears its head in that instance or something different, that same sort of emotion is likely going to pop up. And so I think, again, it's okay to feel those emotions, and actually probably really valuable, as long as you don't get stuck in them.
Did you feel that kind of emotion when you were up in Hamilton last weekend? Any kind of woulda, shoulda, coulda, or I made this choice, not that choice, or I dated this girl, not that girl, or something?
Yes. And I think I've come to grips with my experience there.
Okay.
There's always something like, well, if I'd have done this is the way this might be now. And it's interesting that you brought that up. So there was an event, and then they have this little pub on campus. Actually, the name of it is the Little Pub.
Not on campus?
It is on campus. No, the name is not on campus.
Okay. How about the Little Pub on Campus, baby? That would be the best name.
No, of course, that would be the best.
Now I got to buy another domain. Damn it.
And it was interesting because we had this nice dinner, celebrated a classmate of mine, and all the volunteers who do work on behalf of the college. And so a bunch of people wandered over to the pub, and I walked over there, and it was crowded, and like there were people that I knew, but they were like way on the other side of the bar, and I kind of walked out, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to my hotel and go to bed. And I got thinking about that. I wonder if my experience at Hamilton had been different if I would have just wandered in there and fought my way through the crowd and done some of that. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with it. I'll see these people again. I'll have an opportunity. So I think I have probably questioned some of my choices enough there that I'm able to go back, and now it's more a feeling of, thank heavens I get a chance to go back and be in this place that means an awful lot to me. And how many times will I be able to do that?
Yeah, in the end, I was thinking the same thing about this. It's really nice to live in a place that had such a connection to so many parts of my life, and to experience all of it in a new way now.
Yes.
And to see it in the way it is now, which some of the things I thought I believed are very different. Just like, I don't know if you've ever gone to your elementary school since you left there, but you go there and it's like, this is not very big. This gym that seemed like the biggest room in the world is really small. How can that be?
Yeah. And we got a bunch of comments here. One of them, Jack Appleman, one of our Renegade Success Network members. He says, understanding the value of past experiences instead of regretting decisions is a powerful choice. It certainly is.
The idea that it's a choice.
Yeah.
Which means we make an active decision, either to get caught up in it or to understand it, move forward. Thank you, Jack, for that. That's great.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that those are, I think that's it's just a good reminder of how question, I think, and I would go through and say part of my discovery of the week is that's questioning yourself as long as you're doing it to learn, I think, and I think it's all a part of how do we stop judging ourselves and start learning from the things that we have experienced, done, and chosen.
Wow. Good week.
Very good week, I think.
Yeah, one of my favorites, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this is a topic near and dear to my heart. Yes.
Well, I'm glad. It sounds like the conversation has given you a process to sort of help deal with some of those things.
It has. I'm very excited. Yes. So, excellent. Hey, if you're struggling with questioning yourself, Tom or I would love to talk to you about how we might be able to help you. It can be as simple as a discussion. It can be as robust as getting into our Renegade Success Network and really trying to move through things and really process them in different ways. If that's of interest to you, feel free to contact us. You can go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Or you can DM us, as the young people like to say, Tom. DM us. I don't know what that means, but they say it. No, I know what it means.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, and of course, if you're listening to the podcast, we know, unfortunately, there's no place for you to comment.
You keep bringing that up every day. Just salt on the wound in my life, because I'm still working.
I'm not saying it to you. I'm saying it to them, new podcast listeners who maybe don't know about our two groups or two communities where they can pop in and gain new knowledge, experience, and perspective. So if you're a LinkedIn person, please feel free to join us in the Renegade Success Network for leaders. Or if you're a Facebook person, join us in the Ring of Renegades, where we are helping people try to figure out their next step along their own unique pathway to success. And there'll be posts in both where you can share your discovery of the week. It might be around questioning yourself, or it could be around something else that you discover, because we know that throughout the week we discover many things. And when we share them, we have the opportunity to impact someone else. And so please feel free to put your comments in. And I want to add just one little story, if that's okay.
You have the controls.
Well, it's a little bit about sharing your value and the impact that it has. So, and you brought up Hamilton, so I'm going to go back there, is that when I was there was a woman who was always at one of the main dining halls, taking your ID and swiping it so that you could go in. Turns out she stayed kind of in that role for 35 years.
Wow.
And while I have memories of her, not a lot. It wasn't my main dining hall. I was a 21-year-old that was sort of paying attention to what was going on around me. And yet I think over the years, people have started to realize the value that she was always pleasant. I do remember that. She was always welcoming. She was, there was a smile on your face. It was, one of those things that kind of made you feel like you had someone around who was actually looking out for you. And so she decided she was retiring. And they did this nice video about it. And it just reminded me of, when people walked through, they probably didn't realize the value of having someone who was pleasant, welcoming, happy, and the value that was for students who are a lot of times stressed in college and frustrated and
away from home
and all of those things. And yet looking back on it, they see the value because she was willing to share her value, which was being pleasant, accepting, and welcoming. And, I just think that that's a great reminder that we never know who we're going to impact when we share our value. And so that's why I would really encourage you, if you have thoughts or discoveries of the week, that you go into those groups and share them, because you never know who might be desperately looking for exactly what you have to say. So I think that's, I think this is Steven, I'm going to put this up here, talking about the podcast. You can invent an app that has an audible commenting feature, and you're listening, and then I pause in the audible comment, convert to words, and so somebody could go and do that through the podcast.
Oh, I like that idea. I like that a lot.
Your sister Beth says, great topic. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you next week. Good morning, Bob. And good morning, Tom. That's all right.
And
Thank
I
you,
got
Beth.
first billing this time.
What's that?
I got first billing with her this time.
I think you struck a nerve there somewhere.
I think I did.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us on today's show. We look forward to seeing you inside one of those two groups. Or we'll see you Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, folks in the hurricane path, hope things go well for you. Stay safe. We're thinking about you. And everyone, embrace the renegading you.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. I have a good friend who had some pretty good damage to their home. And I know that they're going to be finding somewhere else to live for probably a month or so. So there's definitely some challenges out there for people. So best of luck to all of them, and go out and make it a great day. I need to get out of the comments, stop reading the comments, and do my job.
Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.